fuck.
Welcome to Adventure Time of Geralt. March promises to be an exciting month for video game fans, as many new and exciting projects are coming to market. We are happy to welcome you on our channel today and invite you to join us on an exciting journey through the world of upcoming releases. Today we have gathered for you all the most interesting games that are coming soon to the market. We will share with you exclusive details, tips and recommendations for each project. We will cover a variety of genres, from action games to puzzle games, and more. So, without wasting any time, let us begin our exciting journey through the world of upcoming releases with Adventure Time of Geralt. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this video. If February was marked by the first high-profile releases of the new year, then March can be considered a month of rare releases. There are enough remakes of iconic games in this selection. On the other hand, there is an enviable diversity among the smaller projects. Almost the entire range of genres from RPGs to turn-based strategies is represented. March 3. Coming out. Wolom, Fallen Dynasty. It strongly resembles the past work of Team Ninja. It has also a Soul Slayer and also about ancient Asia. This time the location of the game will be China of the Three Kingdoms era, or rather its fictional version, with magical creatures and large-scale fantasy locations. The protagonist, a nameless militiaman who fights an army of demons, can not only deftly wield melee-edged weapons, but also use spells and summon divine beasts, such as a red bird and a white tiger. March 8. Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, Remaster. 5 children mysteriously disappeared during a festival on Rojetsu Island. They were rescued, but all of them have lost their memories of those events. 10 years later, 2 of the 5 girls die under mysterious circumstances, and the survivors must return to the island to learn the details. Of the novelties of the remaster, there are improved graphics, a photo mode, in which you can accidentally take a picture of the ghost, and a set of new costumes for the characters. March 8. Contraband police with a bit of action and police flavor. Customs police officer in this game must be able not only to check the authenticity of documents, but also to search for smuggling in caches, arrest criminals, participate in shootouts, and even a car chase on patrol. There is something to do for those who are used to a more measured gameplay. Promised elements of strategy, including the construction of improvements to the customs post and management of the duty shift. March 9. Clash. Artifacts of Chaos Before Us is a spin-off of the Xenoclash series, dedicated to the same amazing world of Xenozok where the events of the first 2 parts took place. The protagonist, a mighty warrior named Pseudo, will use his fists to protect his new acquaintance named Kid, an orphan whose mysterious abilities have attracted the attention of powerful evil forces. The signature of the authors from Ace Team, as before, is the flashy style and recognizable melee system, this time with a third-person view. Several martial arts are available to the Pseudo and the ability to develop your own style as you go through the campaign. Opponents do not mind stretching not only fists, but also the brains. Before the fight you can challenge your opponent and play dice with him. The winner will get to choose the convenient conditions for the fight. March 13. Rough Justice. 80 for the player takes charge of a private security agency that handles a myriad of tasks, from routine escorts and security to finding fugitives and recovering stolen goods. You have to solve these problems using dice and equipment cards, and the agents and freelancers become the hands and eyes of your organization. Each character has a unique look and a set of characteristics from 0 to 5, which corresponds to the number of dice given out when you roll the dice. Special mention should be made of the mini-games. They are puzzles typical of the detective genre of that era, such as cracking safes and locks, deciphering coded messages, or hacking into a computer network. March 14. Valheim, out on Xbox. The Viking simulator appeared on Steam a little over 2 years ago. Valheim is still in early access, but managed to get a bunch of prestigious awards, and the total circulation last year exceeded 10 million copies. In mid-March, Microsoft consoles users will be able to join the survival in the Scandinavian setting. Significant changes compared with the PC version is not planned, with the exception of an adapted for the gamepad interface. The project will support cross-platform play between versions for Xbox, Microsoft Store, and Steam. March 17. Diablo 4. Early access for pre-orders, prior to the release of the 4th installment of the legendary series, is very little. The release is scheduled for June 6. In March we will be holding an open beta test for everyone, March 2426, and a little earlier, March 1719, a separate early access session for pre-order customers. As part of the test, which includes a prologue and the first act, you can fully explore the location cracked peaks. Character development is limited. You can pump up the hero as not above level 25. The traditional fighting game from Decay, released every year, this time is dedicated to the career of one of the most famous fighters of modern wrestling. The face of the project and the main character of Decay Showcase mode will be John Cena. In addition to this and other classic modes in the simulator will appear the team battles 3-3 and 4-4 inside a steel cage covering the 2 rings. Long before she became a powerful witch, Bayonetta was a young sorceress everyone knew as Ceresa. One day she went on a journey through the forbidden forest of Avalon in the company of the demon Cheshire, who dwells in a plush toy. About the adventures of this strange couple, the Bayonetta origins, Ceresa and the Lost Demon tells us. In this project, Platinum Games decided to go away from the style that was used in other games about Bayonetta. In front of us is the action-adventure game with a view from above. The gameplay is dedicated to battles with enemies, exploring the world and solving puzzles. The control is also worth mentioning. Each of the characters has their own Joy-Con. Despite the fact that this is a network shooter, you can win here without firing a single shot. The goal of each mission is not to destroy your opponents, but to complete a special task, such as stealing a valuable item from a closely guarded room. To hide from competitors and guard bots, players can use a variety of spy devices, masquerade as random passers-by or staff, and even pretend to be objects of the environment like a vase or a chair. Each of the heroes has a unique set of skills and weapons, and you can weave spy intrigues in both team mode and in the sessions every man for himself. Death also has a job, and in this job, too, force majeure happens, which has to be dealt with directly by the top management. It is about such a case that happened in Zowdeath that this action novel tells. The project is loved by PC gamers. For a year in the early access Steam, it has received 5,000 reviews, 87 of which are positive. A little contemplative fun where you don't have to overstretch your brain or check your reflexes. The player creates short tales by dragging icons of characters and objects directly onto the pages of the book. Depending on your choices, the plot changes. Despite simple rules that the youngest child can figure out, the game seems to be interesting for adult audience as well. It is noticeable that the developers appreciate the black humor and stories about complicated love relationships. A remake of such an iconic game as the 4th installment of Resident Evil is definitely a landmark, especially for the March lull. According to Capcom, the developers took a careful approach to the restoration process, but didn't shy away from making changes if it could benefit them. For example, the Quao was almost completely removed from the Oro. Slightly changed the inventory system. Now the equipment case can be customizable. The type of container depends on passive bonuses. In addition, changes will affect the story. It will be expanded and complemented, including through the additional notes. For dessert, some content for the recently released PlayStation Vita 2 is promised, and the PC players will have an unpleasant surprise: the presence of Denuvo in the PC version. Note that the version for the previous generation consoles only one. For PS4, Xbox One owners will have to make do with the original. The game will tell about the formation of the criminal empire of Travis Baker, who intends to become the new king of the city of Rakai. Winning the battle for territory is not easy. You must not only successfully pull off things like daring robberies, but also fight with neighboring gangs. It is still unclear how interesting the gameplay of the new shooter will be. Judging by the commercials, it is a kind of payday and supports both single player and co-op. The story and the visuals are definitely worth a look, especially if you like Hollywood action movies of the end of the last century. I will just list some of the actors who gave looks to the main characters: Michael Madsen, Kim Basinger, Danny Glover, Danny Trejo, Vanilla Ice, Chuck Norris. The game will be released on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series before the end of the year. The series on The Last of Us has been extended for a second season, which cannot fail to please fans of the franchise. They have other reasons to be happy. At the end of March, the PC version of the remake of the first part, which was previously an exclusive PlayStation. A great opportunity to relive the adventures of Joel and Ellie again, or to meet them for the first time if you're an avid PC user. More about the features of the PC version Naughty Dog promises to tell soon. Recall that the re-release, available for PS5, apart from the technical innovations, modern graphics, improved animation and lighting, surround sound, tactile feedback DualSense, touch the character eye, and added to new passing modes, for time and with one life. There is also a single add-on left behind, but the Factions multiplayer mode is absent. The modest success of Grounded, a project devoted to tiny people, does not frighten the British developers from Merge Games. We have yet another game on this theme. If you like Darling, I Shrunk the Children and the Unusual Adventures of Carrick and Valia, you should definitely pay attention to Smelland. Gameplay is standard in the survivalist genre. Build a house, get supplies, craft tools and equipment, and in between these peaceful activities fight the wildlife, which is represented here by a variety of small animals from spiders to dragonflies. They, by the way, can be tamed. There is also multiplayer, up to 10 people with optional PvP. Living a quiet life on a small island, fishing on your own trawler, is not a dream. However, sometimes dreams don't come true the way we want them to. That is exactly what happened to Dredge as protagonist. Going out to sea, instead of herrings and crabs, you can catch something very strange, and friendly and not always alive. And each voyage threatens to be the last. Someone clearly does not like the presence of ordinary people in these places. History of the archipelago is shrouded in a frightening mystery, which will have to sort out our fishermen. To do this, we'll not only have to engage in fishing, but also to pump his trawler, trade with the local population, as well as receive inexplicable abilities, which should lead closer to unraveling. The work of the Petroglyph Games studio stands out from other similar strategies by its realism. This is not just an ordinary arts in the first world, where authenticity is limited to the appearance of units. It is noticeable that the developers tried to convey a sense of positional warfare through gameplay. For example, before a defensive battle, the player must prepare the defense lane, giving instructions to the troops on where to dig trenches and build fortifications. As for the global mode, it is promised to reflect the spirit of the era. For example, one of the key tasks of the commander will be the distribution of resources across the front lines. In addition to the campaign and single mission battles, the opportunity to fight with a live opponent in multiplayer PvP is promised. If you've played Tainted Grail, Conquest, you're already familiar with the dark world of Tainted Grail. Here King Arthur is dead, Avalon is cursed, and its population is doomed. The island is plagued by the Red Death Plague. The protagonist has a chance to give people hope for change and salvation, but this path is not sure to be an easy one. Unlike Conquest, which is a hybrid of a roguelike and a card game, The Fall of Avalon is a typical RPG in an open world with a standard set of features, a lot of quests, crafting, exploring locations, battles with various enemies, finding allies and, of course, a non-linear story. While the fate of System Shock 3 is shrouded in mystery and it is impossible to say for sure whether the sequel will be released in the foreseeable future, but the release of the re-release of the first part is about to take place. The remake was also not all smooth. Since the first news about the start of development, it has been more than 7 years. However, journalists have already tried the game and were generally satisfied. Moreover, according to them, the dangerous adventures on the space station Citadel may be interesting to those who are unfamiliar with the original. The main task of the player is to start with a small forest camp and create a whole army of followers of the famous fairy tale hero, which will eventually overthrow the power in Nottingham. Local peasants and city dwellers, tired of the lawlessness of the Lord, can be recruited as recruits and workers. For a modest settlement in the depths of Sherwood Forest to grow into a village full of inhabitants, you will have to try hard. You need not only soldiers, but also workers of different professions. Judging by the commercials, this part of the gameplay will be similar to the urban development simulator. Normal life of the village can be observed from a third-person perspective, and to give orders for construction through the isometric camera. Of course, not without battles. To take away from the rich and give to the poor will help the bow with arrows, sword and loyal friends, among which will be key characters of the legend of Robin Hood. If you believe the authors, we are facing almost the top of the evolution of sea-fighting-based tactics with a view from above a lost space hulk. The enemies, as usual, are bloodthirsty aliens, and our team is a group of special forces sent to the planet M8320 to destroy the unidentified alien threat. Among the key features of the game, the developers single out a classless skill system, a variety of melee and ranged weapons, and customizable equipment, including mines, turrets, and armor. Battles in Usk. Counterforce take place inside the corridor bays of planetary stations and deep and narrow underground caves. The entourage affects the course of the battle. Thanks to the multi-level interactive environment, you can build barricades, break down bulkheads and airlocks, and set a variety of traps. Sophisticated enemy can do the same, which, coupled with the random generation of locations, should increase the diversity of battles. In addition to the story campaign, the developers promise seasonal missions and ranking tables with ranks and achievements.